Hello, hello, hello. Welcome. Hi, I am Sylvia Hayes, and you are watching Good News at Primetime. Tonight, our topic is whoa. It is back to school time. Whoa, it is back to school time. Not whoa, WHOE, WHOA, but WOE. Whoa. Okay? Because back to school time is stressful for a lot of people. Okay. So, like, there are people gun shooting. We'll take that for example. There are a lot of shooting of the guns in the schools right now. Okay. And a lot of people are worried about that. Parents are worried, are their kids going to be safe in school? And now they're talking about to protect them. No, the funny thing is they take prayer out of school and put guns in school. Now, how make sense out of that. Take the prayer out and put the guns in. They want the teachers to carry the guns, or asking them to put people in there with guns so they could protect the school. But yet still, prayer wasn't good enough. Okay, but it's making it stressful. A lot of parents don't want their kids to go back to school in that kind of environment, and I can understand that because putting your kids in school like that and having them facing the danger, that's a horrible thing. You don't want to go to school or go to work and all of a sudden you get a phone call, there's been a shooting at your school. You don't want that. Nope, you don't. And then there are a lot the teachers as well. They don't have the support that they need. Now the students somewhat have more rights than the teachers. The teacher's supposed to be there to discipline them and all of that. But then, too, some of that discipline stuff needs to fall back on the parents. So we need to address that. Parents teaching your children how to act when they are in school. Because a lot of times these children are running the teachers away. And you're going to be short of teachers because they can't discipline the kids because, of their policies, and parents gonna come down there and jump on the teacher for some reason. Sometimes the kids are lying on the teacher, but those things have to be addressed. Okay, so we're gonna go to the good news first. Good news. My company, Reliable Team Media, we have our own network right now. And so you can actually see some of the shows on there. We're doing okay. We're doing pretty good. So I am very proud of Reliable Team Media. And of course, my Church Ladies Cooking Show is on there. The Church Ladies Cooking Show. You got to look them up. Reliable Team Media. That is rtmnetworktv.com. rtmnetwork.com. rtmnetworktv.com. And that's the website to see shows on my network, the Reliable Team Media. And the church ladies, they're doing very well. So kudos to the church ladies. Y'all got to see them. Get on there. Like the shows. We have more than one show. We various shows on there. So get on there and watch them and support the church ladies. And also my book. Got to give kudos to this. Power Thoughts, empowering you to be successful in life. Okay. That book is still out there. You can Google it if you like. Power Thoughts by Sylvia Hayes, or you can go to lulu.com to see the book, or a lot of places have the book. Shoot, reach out to me, ankproductions.com. A-N-K, A and another A-N-D-K productions.com. That's the website for the book as well. That's my website. So check us out, y'all. We're doing things. We are doing things. The senior is doing things. So check us out. We're going to go ahead and bring on my co-host to help us talk about this school situation. Hi, Mr. Reggie. How you doing?
What's up there, Miss Sylvia? To the audience, how you guys doing? I'm doing well this
Doing well.
today. Yes, it's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Great time to talk about school. When I think about school, and we were talking about the woes of going back to school, the woes of going back to school, the challenges, many things. Some of them good, some of them bad. With this pandemonium, we have reshaped the school, and then with the advent of gun violence within the school, we have reshaped the schools. So a lot of things have reshaped how we look at education and the people, the parties, whether it be the students, the parents, uh, and all the participants that engage in the school system. So we got a lot that we got to share. So I'm excited. Definitely want everybody to like, share, subscribe over here at Square Mile Media Atlanta and tag the little button so you get the notifications when we on. But I'm excited. Uh, you know, we have to ask ourselves, where do we start? Back in the day, school wasn't like it is now.
You're right. It's not like it is at all. Back in the day, I enjoyed school. I didn't have any fears. Now we did the prayer every morning.
Mm,
That's how we started after school. Somebody would go in the office, get on the intercom, read verses from the Bible, and do a little prayer. That's the way we started off school day. But now prayer is forbidden in the schools. We
ooh,
had better students then too. You know,
wow.
so it's better students. You didn't have to worry about gun violence. Students, they have just changed. They have changed
Oh,
because now they give students more rights than the teachers. Back in the
mm,
day, teachers had the right to paddle you. They could paddle you. Now, let a teacher paddle somebody. They losing their job, or the parents coming down there and jumping on them. And
whoa.
some of these kids need it. You
Oh,
know,
yeah.
some of these kids really need a paddle. They need discipline because they
Well,
push the button and they just go
well,
way beyond.
well, good butt whooping never did spoil a kid. A good butt whooping never did spoil a child. Spare the wild and spoil the child or something like that. But when you think about it, I think about education during our time period. Um, back prior to what we say integration, that was one of the biggest things. Integrating the school. So a lot of people went through that period where you had the mix of black and kids and white kids. That was one of the biggest challenges in America, school
Mhm.
integration. And then school is going through another transformation during the 80s and 90s. Different things started to show up in schools. Drugs started to show up in school. At the same time, testing started to show up in school. Testing, you started testing somewhere after 2000s. You started testing the first, second, and third graders, even more harder. You had to come with a plan at school. Either you were preparing to just get a admin certificate, or you had a plan to go to trade school, or you were going to college. You know, schools were a pipeline, and if you weren't prepared, you was probably going to either go to the military or be a part of the workforce or the prison industrial system. So school fitted right in there. Then you fast forward to some of the things that's happening today. Kids being diagnosed early in school, being given medication. They say about 80% of the kids at school are on some type of
Mm.
medication, Prozac, uh, Ritalin, uh, and weed. Prozac, Ritalin, and weed, and then the alcohol is in there, and then so the schools are under a big, big thing, uh, now, and there's more challenges to the teachers, the students, and the parents. There's more challenges to
Mhm.
teachers. The teachers got to teach more. They have to uh, be under certain rules and politics and regulations, and the students are required to perform at a higher, level than they ever been required before. And there's more responsibility on the parents to get involved. PTA, Parent Teachers Association, get involved with the kids. And meanwhile, things back at the ranch started to change because you got school shooting. With all this that has to go down, with all these things that's going on, they said, whoa, students are being shot, killed, and murdered at school. So
Mhm.
that's the situation we currently in. And as we figure out what are we going to do.
That is a good question. What are we going to do? But I do want to point out that the teachers, they do the best they can, but then too, they have a problem too with being dictated to what to teach and what not to teach and how to teach it.
Mm,
Because I have one teacher who was talking about how well she was doing with her students and how well they were excelling. But then administrators come in and tell her not to teach this way. You got to do it this way. Okay. So she had to try to do what the administrators tell her to do. And then the kids start dropping off, and then they gonna fault her because the kids are not getting it. But then the administrator should leave her alone and let her teach because the kids were getting it the way she was teaching. But they saying, don't teach it this way. You got to teach it that way. And so that's a hindrance right there on the teachers, and it stresses them out. A lot of teachers are
mm,
stressed, not so much by the teachers, but by all this paperwork they have to do, and by the administrators telling them what to teach and what not to teach.
mm.
And so now it's like, okay, and one of the things I have a problem with, as far as history, you can only teach one culture's history,
Wow.
but the other
Whoa.
culture cannot be taught. I have a problem with that. When I was in school, we learned everybody's history. It wasn't just one culture, but
Okay.
you can learn everybody's. We're not limited. That was before school integrated. Before school integrated, a teacher, if you didn't do your homework, you get a paddling. Nobody wants a paddling, so they did their homework. They made you learn. But
Mm-hmm.
now they so good, they're quick to flunk you because you're not learning.
Whoa.
Sometimes you have to be forced, coerced,
Mm.
the word, into learning,
Uh,
you know,
whoa.
and doing your
Uh,
homework because kids, they if they can get away with not doing schoolwork, they're gonna do it. And sometimes
right.
they settle. If I can get a D, I'm good. But then why you want to settle for a D when you can get an A?
Right.
Before school
Whoa.
integrated, you were encouraged to get an A.
Mm-hmm.
Now they just let you do whatever. If you flunk, you just flunk. And sometimes they
Right.
flunk you even if you do try to do
Well,
your best and they don't try to help you. So that's a problem right there. And then the parents, sometimes they say, why my teacher got this, why my student got this F? Why are you not coming to school? No, you should be in school talking about what your child is doing, how they're progressing. Don't just don't just come see the teacher when your child is failing or when your child
mm,
get in trouble. You need to be at that school all the time. Checking on your students, checking on the progress on them. Let them know I'm here to support you in getting my child educated. So that's important too. And you need to teach your children how to be respectful to the teacher. Because have you've been in a school where they have substitute teachers and how
oh
much
yeah.
trouble they give that substitute teacher?
Oh yeah.
So
Well,
you got to teach your kids. A teacher is a teacher, whether they're
well,
1 day or 1 year. You know,
well.
you got to teach that respect.
And, that's home training. One of the
Yes.
things that has been compromised in the school system has been home training. When I was growing up, what happened at school, uh, we respected and valued the importance of teachers. Well, a lot of that changed. And believe it or not, a lot of that changed because of integration, especially when white and black teachers started intermingle. Okay. When we talk about prayer in school, at first it comes out that they don't want prayer in school. Well, what they did not want was other people praying, and that caused some conflict. Okay, because uh, the one way, one style of putting, spiritual overtones into the classroom were okay as long as it came from a white ruling class. As long as white people were disciplined black kids, as long as white people were uh, pushing the spiritual outlet towards black kids, there was no problem. But when black teachers started to discipline or have to discipline white kids, problems started to happen. Okay, so when this happened, it puts us in a position where there was conflict in the schools, conflicts in the system, and then that brought additional problems because integration put it in a position where uh, black teachers uh, were kind of handcuffed when it came to uh, either discipline or, you know, teaching the white kids. And that integration kind of took a lot of things out. You know, sometimes we have to look at the layers of the onion and find out why and how did these things happen. Integration caused a lot of breakdown within the school system.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Yeah.
even on the medical condition, because white teachers started to say, well, you know, I can't handle these hyper or emotional black kids, so give them some medication. So when the 90s and around 2000, it became normal to give them some medication, Ritalin, all this stuff started to be a part of the norm.
Yeah. And you know what? Some of those kids, they didn't need that. They didn't need the
No,
medicines. These kids, sometimes they were hyper and they ready and eager to learn. Sometimes they weren't being challenged,
true,
because they have that learning ability. I mean, they could go. They just weren't being challenged. And sometimes that was a problem for the teachers.
right.
When the kids start acting up, you know, they weren't being challenged. And they feel
Well,
that they needed those pills. And I've seen times, because I know one person who they gave the pill to, and I talked to him later, and he was telling me that he wasn't being challenged. He was just bored in school. And they
mhm,
put him on that medicine, and it really messed him up. It really did. So, and it took a long time for that stuff to get out of his system. It slowed him down. You don't
wow,
want that. You don't want to slow a person down.
right.
You want them to be robust. I mean,
Yeah.
if there's a problem, stop giving sugar.
Whoa, well, you know, one of the things too, and I see a comment down here. We thank for everybody for commenting and sharing their thoughts and ideas on this subject matter. But teachers have to know that parents are active and involved in their child's life. Because of the complex work schedule of a lot of parents and
Mhm.
other conditions, a lot of parents are not actively involved in their children's life. And when they get into a situation, uh, they don't know what's happening at school. And you're right, they did take away recess. They took away uh, that would burn a lot of the energy off kids, and then they could sit in the classrooms and learn. They also
Mhm.
took away a lot of uh, hands-on things, whether it be shop, cooking, things of that nature, and you just put the kids in the classroom, and if they didn't stay in the classroom and read about Sally, Dick, and Jane, you said they had a disciplinary problem. And because either your hands were tied or you didn't have the strategy or the techniques to challenge the kids, you end up putting them in counseling, and the counselor recommended Ritalin or something of that nature to slow the kid down and paralyze and impede their thinking ability. You know what we say over here? Thinking ain't illegal yet. When they ban
Yeah.
thinking, we all doomed.
But when I was in school, you didn't hear about kids being on pills because they were too hyper. No, because they kept us active.
Right.
Before school integrated, I used to love myself some school. I loved going to school for the activities we were doing, just hang around with the people, and the food in the cafeteria wasn't bad. They had the
Right.
best peanut butter cookies you ever want to eat.
Okay.
In that cafeteria. I love going to school and I love eating the food. Now they saying they don't like the food, it's nasty and all of that.
Mhm. Well,
But I enjoyed school. We had activities and we learned. You didn't have to worry
Well,
about kids failing all the time because the teachers made sure that you learned. And then they filled you with other activities too, like May Day. We had May Day outside, going out playing games and all of that kind of stuff.
hmm
With the basketball games and all of that stuff. We had activities. This was like in the daytime, but we
right.
learned. We learned. And one of the woes about school before school integrated, um, and that's another problem. I feel like integrating of the school was a bad thing. Even
Yeah.
though they wanted the schools to integrate so we could get better education, but that didn't happen. That made people fall behind because they the white people wanted you to fail. They actually failed you and all of that kind of stuff. They didn't give you the right thing to do. They didn't teach you right. They didn't treat you right. A lot of them did. They treated they didn't want you to learn basically.
Mm.
But integrating of the schools, when they integrated the school, it took away something from you.
Ooh. Well.
I know when before school integrated, I remember getting some books in school. I'm going, oh, we got new books, and then I open up the book, somebody name in there I never heard of before. Guess what? They took the books from the white school and gave them to the black students, and then I guess the white kids got new books.
Mm.
So the black schools were the hand-me-down. So the one
Right.
reason they wanted school integration was so they can have equal funds.
Mm.
Put some of those funds into the black schools so they can
Well.
have better books and material and stuff, rather than giving it out to the white. That's the main thing. As far as educated, we were getting educated.
Mm.
We were getting educated, but the thing is, they weren't treating you the same. A 12th grader black kid and a 12th grade white kid, both of them graduated. But you know what? Sometimes the 12th grade black kid is way more smarter than the white kid. But yet
Mm.
still, the white kid is the one who get the jobs and get all the advances and stuff simply because he's white.
Mm.
And they teach you got to work twice as hard as a white person
Well.
to get where they're going.
Yeah. Well.
So the
Since.
education they wanted education, they wanted better education, but they wanted equal. They wanted equal, and then the older people, some of them say it was a mistake to integrate. They see that afterward, but they wanted to integrate so we could get a better education. But it's not happening because they failing the kids. If I had one teacher, I ain't gonna say I had one teacher. I know of a teacher. Just a few years ago, she quit teaching in the public schools because they
Mm.
were treating the white kids better than they were treating the black ones.
Mm.
Right now they're still mistreating. They get different treatments. And this was a
Mm.
black teacher who quit because of the way
Well.
they're doing in the school system now.
Hmm.
So it's still not
Well.
equal, but the
Well.
parents got to be on top of it. Make sure their kids get educated.
Hmm. Well,
Okay.
everything always does point back to some form of racism or something like that. When we think about critically thinking about our educational system, we critically start thinking about what caused it to go into a different direction. Integration was one part of that. And once integration happened, uh, taking teachers and not giving them the right tools and equipment, and then
Mhm.
also disengaging parents from the lives of their children. Even though on one side it looked like they were engaging parents and bringing them into the fold, uh, and some teachers were alienating parents, and some parents, like I said, were in the workplace, and they had to double up, so they didn't have time to go by the school, check on little Bobby, Johnny, whatever, whatever, whatever. Before you know it, he flunked a test, or he's not keeping up. He's not learning reading. He's not. Matter of fact, there were more people, young people, between the 70s, the 80s, and the 90s, and even today that don't know how to read. Okay, at a
Mhm.
fourth grade level, that don't know how to read at a fourth grade level. Some of that was poor teaching, And some of that was the fact that they weren't going to school long enough to learn the things that were necessary. And then that's just on that part. Now, when you add a lot of the other things that happen at schools, one of the reasons why you have so many young people frustrated, mad, disgruntled, is the fact that they don't fit in. Okay, and when you look at uh, school shootings, not being involved in school, even the parents not fitting in, the teachers not fitting in. That's why you have a lot of school shootings that's going on now. People feeling bullied. Uh, they feeling
Mhm.
uh, all those things that are needed to make you feel a part of a community. The school system is no longer a community. It's no longer a community or part of the community. It's been alienated, it's been separated. And by doing that, it put the teachers and the students at a very vulnerable position because schools would be a place where you respected what was going on inside. That was teaching our young people.
Yeah. And kids are being bullied, but you know what? There's sometimes the teacher bully the kids too.
Oh
Because
yeah.
my daughter used to come home and tell me what the teacher had done to her or said to her, making her feel bad. And I reported it to the principals, and they tried to play it off like he wasn't doing that or he didn't mean it that way or something like that. But one day she came home and told me that that teacher poked her with an umbrella. And you know what I did? I went down to the police department and had papers made out on that man and had him arrested. Yeah, because you're not gonna do my child like that. And she was in elementary too. She's
Mm.
already complaining about what he's saying to her, making her feel bad, giving her that low self-esteem. There was an old white man, and
Oh,
I
okay.
tried my best to get his pension because he was getting ready to retire. I wanted him to lose it, for treating
Wow.
my child the way he was doing. What
Mm.
happened to it, I have no idea, but I do know that he did go to jail for doing it. They might have
Mm.
let him out the next day or something. But you don't
Wow.
treat that child like that. And parents have to be on
Well,
top of that. If your child is telling you something, you need to pay attention. Because if you don't, sometimes the teachers, they're going to play over and make it feel like your child is lying. But not
mm.
all the time. Not
Okay.
all the time. So you got to be aware of it and know what your child is like too. Because sometimes kids can lie.
Mm.
I was thrown out of school for what? I wasn't doing anything.
Right.
Know your student's personality because they can
Well,
do stuff and lie too. But
well, like you,
if your child coming and telling you what the teacher is doing a couple of times or so, it's something to it.
right.
Yeah, it's something
Well,
to it. And you have to, sit down and talk to your kids and tell them
hmm it's extremely important that you pay attention to what's going on in your children's.
parents, talk to your
Right.
students so they'll know what's going on. And then go down to the school and talk to the teachers.
Right.
My kids were in school. I gave them permission to spank my children. The miss,
Whoa.
hey, we can't do that. We can't spank those kids. I'm going, you have my
Well,
permission.
well,
Because you
every.
know what? Kids gonna act up. Now they may act
hmm
one way in front of you and act another way behind your back. So if that
Okay.
child, if you
Well,
you teach your children right, but you know good and well those kids ain't gonna act right all the time.
well,
So I
but
tell them you have permission to spank them. I know they weren't gonna
well,
do it, but then I
well,
let my kids know that they have permission to do that so they can walk a straight and narrow way. I know the
well,
teacher not gonna do it, but you got to,
well,
because
going
they ain't gonna do right all the time. They ain't gonna
right.
do right.
Well, when you look at integration, you said what happened. A lot of people didn't want other people to influence their kids. They didn't want them teaching them. They didn't want them touching them. They didn't want them uh, to influence them in any other way. On the other hand, a lot of black and brown kids were being touched, uh, miseducated by other people. And I think a lot of that has contributed to what we see today. The school system has to rethink its purpose. But look, not just integration, mixing different kids. Today we got over 40 different nationalities of kids in school, whether it be
Mm-hmm.
Pakistanis, Indians, Muslims, uh, Mexicans, different Hispanic people, Italians, all these folk in the school together. So integration has put that sandwich of that mixing bowl together. One of the biggest problems and challenges with schools today is internal violence and disturbance. They don't even have the kids fighting. It's either one or two young people that are upset with something that has happened within the school system, whether they were bullied, whether they didn't feel a part or detached from that system, and now they're threatening the system itself by either shooting up the school, killing teachers and children. And now the responsibility is on the teachers, and people want to give the teachers guns, weapons, send them to training. Not only do you have to get a degree in whatever it is that you're teaching, a master, a doctorate, or whatever, now you got to go get certified to hold down a gun just in case a active shooter comes in. And also the kids have to be taught how to act, how to dodge being shot at. I just recently saw, and I think we posted it over there. They got these little metal plates that you stick in the book bag. And if there's an active shooter in the school, you can either use your book bag to cover yourself or hide behind it.
Mm.
So, so these are things that have been thought about giving out to our students. And then you have to ask yourself, can you trust the teacher to protect your child? In the
No.
schools, in the last school shootings, I don't even think the police went in the building.
Yeah, and it's sad because I saw the video where the parent went in and got her child out while the police is standing around. That don't make any sense.
Yeah.
What is the value of the students? They don't have a value.
Well,
When I was coming up, the only thing we had to worry about was tornadoes,
yeah, oh
not
yeah,
gun
yeah, we
shooting.
practice.
Yeah.
Well, prior to tornadoes and stuff, you practice. Back in during World War II, they practiced bomb drills just in case there was a nuclear attack. The kids ducked up, rolled over. They practiced fire drills and things of that nature. Now you got to practice what to do if one of your own, another student, came into the school and started shooting at people with an automatic weapon. Weapon of choice for most school shootings is AK-47. Okay,
Hmm.
high-powered uh, magazines, uh, you know, that can do a lot of damage in a short amount of time. Uh, the police, uh, you know, are not even accurately trained on how to defend a school. Okay, we talk about woes of going back to school. Most of your police officers have not been put in a position where they had an active shooter. And when they get there, the people that's there on the scene, human nature kicks in. It's not like in the movies. It's not like in the movies. You're not gonna go in there and be a John Wayne or Bruce Willis and take all the kids out of the school without hurting somebody. Okay, there's a lot
Right.
more liabilities in place. Okay, there's different protocols, different school systems have different protocols. You don't go by those school system protocols, you're gonna have some problems. One of the things that we found out with a lot of the school shootings over the last 5 to 10 years is that everybody's starts to blame somebody. Okay, you're gonna blame the
Yeah.
shooter. You can blame other students for not reporting bad behavior, things that they see on the internet, things of that nature. You're gonna have teachers being at fault for not doing or recognizing things, counselors, principals, and all that. Everybody's pointing the finger. Now they're outside the school. They're seeing the police. When a school shooting goes down, police are unprepared. They're running away from the shooter, whether it's on an elementary, a middle school, or even a college campus. People are finding themselves not wanting to be a part of that. Okay, they don't know
Mm-hmm.
how to handle it. Most people, most of us have never been shot at, especially with automatic weapons.
Right. Yeah. And I think the bullying thing, I think part of it comes from bullying in school. And that's why I try to teach kids you don't bully people because you don't know when you're going to push that last trigger, that last button that will cause them to go off and kill everybody. You
Mm.
don't know. So as parents, we need to teach our children not to bully and what's going to
Well,
happen. And also to report it to the teachers. And if the
well,
teachers don't do anything, then they're
hey,
gonna have to be held accountable. A lot of times kids they just bully people because they can get away with it. A lot of teachers turn their head when they see somebody doing something. They shouldn't be turning their head because they don't know
right.
what's going to trigger that. They may be end up facing a bullet because they didn't do anything. you
Well,
know
a,
so
a, a,
the
a
teachers
lot of
teachers
times,
and administrators, they need to do. And it's not so much as putting them in timeout. Sometimes they that's where I think that paddling come in handy. Cause if
okay.
you get enough butt whippings, you ain't gonna want to do that stuff anymore.
Well, a
You
lot of
ain't gonna want
times
to do it.
it's easier to show them than to tell them. It's easier to show them than to tell them. We live in a country where bullying is the norm. Okay, and
Mm-hmm.
it just didn't start with the last administration. Okay, this system has been showing folk, young people, that the only way to do things to handle conflict is to either take it. Okay, if you can't deal with something, either take a pill or take it out on somebody. If you can't
Mm-hmm.
deal with a system, you can't deal with people, either take it out on them. So uh, there's a lot more things, intangibles involved in regrouping the thinking process here in America in the school system. And, I looked at other school systems around the world, and believe it or not, they don't have school shootings. We actually have to be prepared for the new year with an active shooting program. Well, they don't have to do that in other countries. So we have to ask ourselves, why is that? Why is it that in American schools you have to have uh, uh, like a self-defense class on how not to get shot while learning, how not to get shot while learning? That's in the elementary schools, the middle schools, the high schools, and even college campus. And outside of school, the malls and things of that nature. But for the schools, we think as the schools as being a protected sanctuary for our babies, a protected sanctuary for our babies and young kids, young people. So there's some things have to change. The bullying that takes place, and even uh, gun legislation. I know one of the things that Joe Biden is talking about, I think, is how to reduce the uh, assault level, assault weapons. You know, when these assault weapons are easily purchased, you can easily put your hands on them. They become the weapons of choice of so many of the people that invade our schools and attack our children.
Yeah, and that goes back to politics. You
Yep.
you have a governor who make it easy for these students to get these guns and kill up everybody. You know,
Well,
he yeah, that's basically what he's doing. You know,
well,
making it easy for
now,
them.
well,
I mean,
we have to
kids
think
gonna get
about,
guns anyway. They're gonna get
yeah.
guns anyway. But when you make it easier for the parents to get a gun, the kids gonna get the gun from
Well,
the parents and go use it,
well,
or
in
if
that
they don't
case,
go buy their
we
own.
we can't blame the governor. Okay.
Okay, it's
I know.
all those people who make the laws saying that you
Right.
can get
Yeah.
the gun. It's those people who,
Right.
but he signed it.
Yeah. He signed it. Yeah.
He signed it, so he
hmm
still got the
So,
blame.
but we have to blame those uh, over 300 senators and congresspeople here in the state of Georgia. You have to look at the same thing when you look at from state to state. I know we had a breakdown of where most school shootings have taken place over the last 20 years. I think California is one of the biggest uh, state. It's one of the most school shootings have happened in California. And then there's Texas, uh, California, Texas, Florida, Ohio, uh, and all other states start to filter in. Uh, Georgia, I think we had a couple of years ago, there was a school shooting somewhere. Looked like, I can't think of when the last massive school shooting in Georgia. I know we had one down in Florida, Texas recently, uh, but there's other shootings that happen. Every day there's something that happens at a school. But in order to make it a mass school shooting, you got to have two or more people to get killed. Two or more people have to be killed. Now there are shootings where maybe one student and there's a exchange between a student and another student, somebody gets shot and they die. But when people actually come into school, kick down a door, walk through the halls, and spray the halls with bullets, that's a big challenge for the modern day school.
Yes, it
And
is.
we have to find some ways to do about it. I was recently talking to a brother. We got to bring him on one day. He was talking about things that you could do at schools to either reduce, eliminate, or slow down the criminal element. Things like one uh, was arming the teacher and the principal. Two was arming outside patrol people. You know, every school might need to have a armed security person. And you got to make sure they on point. You know, their sanity is good. Uh, that would deter people from coming in. I know some schools have metal detectors. Even prior to school shootings, schools had metal detectors, like at the airport. That might be an answer to reduce uh, the influx of weapons into the school system. But got to think about it. We have to think about it. Usually, when they put these systems up, the people that suffer the most, are black and brown people. Okay, black and brown males in particular, because you accidentally or not knowingly left a knife or even a gun in your book bag. And when you get it, you get caught. That brings more weight on the family, because now little Johnny, little Bobby's kicked out of school.
Mm-hmm.
So when these one of these metal detectors and things that uh, they'll put in to analyze and scrutinize what they bringing into school, drugs, weapons, and things of that nature, uh, we have to be careful to make sure that black and brown kids are not going to be victimized. See, some things sound real good until you look at it. Oh, yes, thank you for this subject, public guide. Yes, yes, yes. We have to be clear and think about how does that affect black and brown kids? Because when integration happened, some of these questions we did not answer. We wanted to get education, but we didn't see what was coming on board. We didn't see prayer being pulled out of school. We didn't see uh, teachers not wanting to teach. Okay, and then fast forward, we didn't see the drug epidemic and how it would affect black and brown kids in the school. Ritalin, Prozac, all these chemicals to reduce the forward movement of black and brown children. And today, we see the threat of violence. And as a black male here in America, you know, I have to look at that differently. I have to say, even though there's not a rash of black men, black boys killing and shooting up school. That's not a whole lot of black and brown people shooting up school. We know the people problem isn't guns. I got a thought here. Thank you. You can make TV. Problem isn't guns alone. When I grew up, boys got BB guns and their first knife. I grew up in the South. Boys were taught to hunt. They were uh, taught gun safety as well. And that's a good point. Uh, the fascination with guns, okay? You see,
Mm-hmm.
it's not the guns, but when you got a high level of males that are fascinated with guns, you can say it's the video game. Most of the people that have shot up schools have been totally brainwashed with some form of video game. And a gun of choice in video games is the AK-47, an assault weapon. Assault weapon. Nobody's going into schools with a shotgun, okay? A hunting rifle. They're going in there with assault weapons. Uh, the smallest magazine that people have used might have been their personal gun, a Glock. Or nobody's going with a revolver, a 357 Magnum, and shooting up these schools. Okay,
Right.
people are going in there strapped down like you see in the Matrix with assault weapons, weapons that are designed to be used in uh, what's that? What's that country over there at war now?
Um.
The Ukraine.
Yeah.
Okay, these weapons should be in the Ukraine,
Yeah.
not in
You're right.
schools.
And I think a lot of these video games it do brainwash people, and some kids can't
Turn the
differentiate the
switch off.
difference
Yeah.
between what's real and what's
Oh
fake.
yeah. Oh
You know,
yeah.
they can't distinguish between the two. And I
Hmm.
think that's where parents come in, to monitor what they're doing, monitor their actions. If you see your child is obsessed with doing stuff like that, you might need to question them,
Hmm.
monitor, keep guns away, just in case. Just in case. Normally, you don't think anything like that's going to happen. It's just a
Hmm.
game. He's just having
Yeah.
fun. But you never know what's going on in these
Well,
kids' mind. You
yeah.
never know.
Never know. Well, again, parenting is critical. Parenting is critical. To know what your children are doing. And I know we're talking about guns and gun violence in school, but look at other things that are uh, they might especially with COVID, the monkey virus, all these things. Teachers got to be frontline again. Teachers got to be frontline again to deal with sneezing, breathing, spitting kids and putting themselves in harm's way again with uh, you know, whether it be mask wearing, whether it be getting their shots, things of that nature. Teachers are being once again put into a peculiar situation. Even parents, when you send your kids to school, you don't know what they're gonna come back with.
Yeah, you're
You
right.
don't know what they're gonna come back with. I mean, whether it's
Yeah,
in the daycare, whether it's in the elementary school. I mean, schools are totally unprepared for this new, like we've been laying things out, integration, uh, medicine. Now you got chronic diseases. Uh, somebody else, when the Second Amendment U.S. Constitution was written, they had muskets. You had to reload with a gunpowder for every shot. Oh yeah, I know people, you know, stand by. I'm a Second Amendment person too. I believe you got the right to bear arms. You know, I
yeah,
keep two guns, rifle, but I don't have an assault weapon. Okay, I never found the need to have an assault weapon. Okay, unless
yeah.
I'm
And a
ready
lot
to
of
go to
times, a
war.
warning shot is good enough to make somebody
Well,
turn and run.
well, there are no warning shots with an assault weapon because once you
Nope.
squeeze the trigger, 15 bullets popping out. So
Yeah,
if my biggest threat to me, my family, my loved ones, uh, I don't find a need to have an assault weapon.
it's not.
Okay, I think a shotgun. I think everybody should have a shotgun and a peacemaker, which is to be 38. 357 Magnum, a Glock, but I don't think, this is me, that everybody needs a AK-47.
You don't even need that to go hunting.
I
You
mean,
know,
what you
because
gonna do? Tenderize the deer?
exactly. You don't
I mean,
even need that to go hunting. That is a war a
it's a
weapon.
war,
You
a
don't
weapon of
need
war.
that. You don't
Well,
need that in your home.
eh,
And to have your kids have access to that,
mm-hmm.
no, no, that's not right. We're supposed to
And
be peace loving people. Everybody's
well,
supposed to be getting along. Take a village to raise a
well,
child. We need to get that village together and stop
yeah.
putting these guns out there.
uh,
That's what we
well,
need to do.
well. I think sometimes we get caught up in the language. The language is pushing that people want to take away people's gun. Nobody wants to take away people's gun.
No,
But it is, and I believe now, if you can uh, have training, I think young men should be going hunting. Young men should be exposed to weapons. Uh, you know, I know this is a sidebar conversation. When you have people around uh, these tools, a weapon is nothing but a tool. Okay, it's nothing but a tool. But if when you have people around these tools and they learn how to properly use them and know what they can do, for instance, a guy that's teaching his son to hunt will not use a AK-47 unless he's sick, you know, in the head, because he's saying, son, what you got to do, what do uh, put an aim, pull that trigger, and shoot that animal. You shooting whether it's for sport or eating. But when you have these video games that come out and they don't teach you nothing. Let me see this. This is Third Street down. Thank you, thank you. Did you have children and guns? Please lock or secure your guns to avoid accident. Please learn how to clean and maintain your guns safely. That's a good point. See,
mm-hmm.
and I do look in the black and brown community, the fear of guns. Now, right now, black and brown people are not going in schools. The numbers are not up where they shooting up school. Like
Right.
the average age of a school shooter, the average age and profile of a school shooter is a white male between 14 and 18 years old. The average male of a school shooter is a white male somewhere between 14 and 18 years old. Okay, so that
Mm-hmm.
suspect has been uh, identified. Okay, that perpetrator has been identified. These are some of the most frustrated people within the school system. You say, well, what has broken that down? What has put these young white angry men in position where they'll go up and shoot up the school? Okay, and it's not the Second Amendment. They're not there trying to defend their home.
Nope, not at all. And you know what? They're not thinking about what's going to happen in the future to them. They're not thinking about if I kill this person, it's going to hurt their mom, their sisters and brothers,
Right.
grandparents. Then they're not thinking about what's going to happen to them and their siblings and how their parents going to have to come up with money, put their house up
Bail money.
just to get them out of jail and go for years and years, probably in jail, if not executed. They're not thinking about all of that. When
Yeah.
people have guns in their house, they need to make sure that the kids who have access to these guns know the consequences of these guns, how it's going to affect them, their grandmother, their little sister, how they might be in jail for the rest of their life for killing somebody, how it's going to cause somebody so much heartbreak. Johnny go kill somebody, grandma's heart is broken. You're disappointing
Mm.
grandma, somebody you really love. You got to
Well,
think about everything. It's not just an A and B situation. It's a whole community situation.
well,
A whole
well.
community.
When we start to think about the intent of school, to train, educate, and empower our young people to participate in this society, okay? The skills that are needed for you to be a part of this society. The schools are no longer capable of doing that. They have failed us. They have
Mm-hmm.
failed us. And when society does not demand that from their school system, we have failed the children.
Yeah, I think the school system they're so afraid of lawsuits. No, afraid of parents coming down there fussing at them about something. They need to put their feet down and say, "We're not going to have this. Johnny was bullying, so Johnny got to go or do some kind of consequences rather than just turn your head and let them bully somebody." No, those kids who are getting bullied, they have feelings. They need to be protected because everybody can't stand up to a bully. So that's why also, I always say you are your brother's keeper. If you see somebody
Right.
bullying somebody, maybe you need to step up. Hey, don't do that, boy, like that. He's a good kid. Don't do that. Or something.
Mm.
Say something, or just got to do something to stop it.
Right.
Make them think twice about it. You shouldn't be doing that. You don't want nobody to do you like that. Don't do that. So we need to teach our kids to step up sometime or go tell somebody. Go tell the principal or the teacher, so and so is bullying so and so. We need to put a stop to it. We need to curb it somehow because those kids who are being bullied, they're the one, a lot of times, are the one who's going shooting people. And those teachers who got shot, maybe they were causing that student some problems too.
Right.
Unless the student was just extra bad and causing problem with the teacher. That's a
Well,
different story. But if the kids sometimes you get bullied so much, you gotta start protecting yourself.
right.
So that
Well,
that is where that come in sometimes. I'm so frustrated. I can't learn. They're picking at me because I'm dumb and all of that kind of stuff. It shouldn't be. We should
mm,
embrace and help and support people rather than causing them to go off on a limb like that. If
right.
you know somebody got a gun, tell somebody, or try to take it away from them or something.
Oh, no, just try to take it away now.
Discourage them for bringing it to school or
Yeah. Oh,
discourage
yeah.
them,
Well,
do some kind of discouragement
well,
rather than
we
supporting it.
one of the things, and we have to prepare on multiple sides. We have to prepare our children. Uh, we have to prepare our children to be taught and be educated. We have to prepare our children to learn. We have to prepare our children to protect themselves at all times. We also have to, from whether it be weapons or whether it be uh, other things out there, because, like I said, we are in an environment now. Two of the biggest challenges for the school this year, two of the biggest challenges, other than educating the students, and that should be the primary reason for being in school. Two of the biggest challenges for schools are weapons of mass destruction in the school and
Mhm.
the spread of COVID-19 and other viruses. Those
Yeah,
two of the biggest
and
things.
that
That's two of the parents' biggest woes for this year.
Yeah, and I know of a school already, a school system, they had to close it down altogether. The first thing, because of COVID. So parents are still, worry about it. You still got to be protected, protect yourself, and that's, some parents don't want their kids to go to school because they don't want them to get COVID.
Mm.
They know it's out there. They're trying to protect them, but
And,
no, it's gonna
and and
happen.
and if, well, I say this in my final thing: if the school system, that's the community, that's the teachers, the students, the parents, the system as a whole doesn't get itself together, people will be forced to homeschool their kids. People will be forced to homeschool their kids. And once they start homeschooling their kids, it places them in an antisocial environment where they
Hmm.
only know to play with themselves or whoever's in the school with, and then they become antisocial people and they become positioned to be the same dysfunctional people in the greater society. So we
Yeah.
need schools. We need schools. We need the community strong. We need the children strong. We need the teachers strong. And we need the programs and protection around all of them.
Yeah, you're right about that. And so it's time to come to this conclusion. And I want to say one of the things they're doing in school now is making them buy calculators. when I was in school, we didn't use calculators. And when my kids were coming up, I did not let them use calculators. It's like, use your brains. And I'm going to tell you a story about my kids. I wouldn't let them use a calculator. I said, you got to use your brains. One time we went to the mechanic and the man was calculating my bill. And my daughter said, what are you doing? And he said, I'm calculating the bills to tell your mama how much she owes. And she said, you don't use your brain? You know? And he said, yeah, I do, but the calculator is going to help some. But now schools are requiring that you use calculators. And I think some of this education stuff is taken away from the brains personally. I think you still need to use your brains to do work and to be strong. But education is very important. We need to support our students. We need to support the teachers. One of the things I always say, learn all you can about everything you can. Learn all you can about everything you can. Learn everything you can in school, because that is so important. Whether you're required to or not, learn it. When I was in school, man, my literature book, I just went through reading. I wasn't even required to do that, but I was reading about Huckleberry Finn and Tom Sawyer and all of those other stories that was in my literature book on my own. And you just got to learn, okay? It is school time. We can't focus on guns and what's going on. We got to think about learning. Of course, if you see something wrong, you need to report it, okay? So it is so important that you do. The teachers need support, because a lot of times they're going out there spending their own money, getting these supplies. Parents, you need to, if you can, get your school supplies for those kids so they can learn. That is a big woe, not being prepared to learn. And sit down with your kids and teach them some stuff too. Don't just don't put it all on the teacher. Don't put it all on the teacher. You need to help too. Okay, I know some of you don't have the patience, you yell, and sometimes it's better that you don't even help, because you stress the kid out and they be all upset and can't learn. But you need to have patience, teach your kids, learn with them. There's some things that they can teach you, okay? And that's going to be it for today. You've been watching Good News at Primetime, and today's today's subject is woe. It's school time, back to school time. It is back to school time. There's so much. Oh, one other thing I got to say. When you're driving behind a school bus, if that bus stop, have its lights on and its sign out there to stop, okay? Because so many kids are getting killed because you don't want to stop behind that school bus. Even if you're beside it, stop. In front of it, and you see that bus coming, and you see the stop sign, stop. Because some kids, they just run out in front of the school bus, in front of the cars, because they think you're stopping, okay? And they get killed. I have had accidents right beside my bus because one person stopped and another one didn't want to stop. You know, there are accidents right there. There's kids being ran over. And sometimes there are people who are going on the other side of the bus running over these kids. Be careful, be watchful for these kids. There are cameras on these buses now that will get you, and there are heavy fines for running the bus stop sign, okay? So be careful with these kids. Watch for them, because they're going to always run out in front of you, especially if they see the bus and they're trying to get there before the bus leaves. They're going to run out in front of these cars and trying to get there. Be careful, okay? So you're watching Good News at Primetime. I'm Sylvia Hayes, my co-host Reggie Drummer. Until next time, y'all have a powerful day.
Bye.